Hey, so let's talk about the little good old days, man. So I just had Mike Lee on the other day, and
Okay.
he talked about the van, man, the college van that you had, the college van. And when I came to my visit, we all piled in the van. When I got to campus as a freshman, we all piled in the van. How long did that van last after you got done with KU?
Well, it didn't make it through KU. My parent is a 1990 Dodge Caravan with wood paneling on the sides.
Yes, sir.
Some of the older listeners might remember those. But I think my mother drove that when I was in high school. I had an even worse car my last year of high school, and then I got the upgrade to the minivan for college, and it was great. I mean, because we had plenty of space, so a lot of the guys didn't have cars, and everyone would pile in my car.
Yep.
And guys would take you to the grocery store. I'd get in the van, and there'd be like some peanut butter that fell out of the bag, or mayonnaise or something that Drew or Kenny Greger or somebody had borrowed my van. But I love that thing. And then on the way to school my junior year, the transmission went out on the drive back from Iowa to Lawrence. The transmission went out, and it was going to cost more to fix than it was worth. And I sold it to the junkyard for $50, and never saw it again. But
what was the upgrade, man? What did you upgrade to?
I had a Ford Fairmont, which you probably know what it is.
Okay,
it was like
that's okay.
And yep, so I don't know. I really miss it. I would love to maybe find one and refurbish it and give it to my daughter, but make it safe and reliable. I actually went pretty far down the road. I was in a bar in Nashville once, and they had a Jeep Grand Wagoneer that they cut it and they put it on the wall, and they put bar taps like in the Jeep.
Yeah.
And I found a minivan just like mine at a junkyard in like Virginia. And I was talking to a guy about how do I put this on my wall in my basement?
Yeah.
And then I got married, and my wife was like, no way. But I went down the road until I got married. And as wives do sometimes, they put an end to our great ideas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, well, man, that van was, man, we went everywhere in that van, man. And I'm always blessed, man, because like I came in as a freshman, man, like always, like, most freshmen, they come in and hang out with their freshmen, as I did with the J5 with Aaron and Miles and those guys. But I was Kirk's roommate, and you guys always hung out together, so I would just tag along, and I got to experience life with how you guys, carried yourselves out in public. So that was all. I mean, I know you never heard this, man, but that was always cool for me, man, because, being a freshman, looking up to you guys, you got to just see, okay, all right, this is how you got to handle yourself when you go out. Okay, be polite. You guys would always sign the autographs. I mean, you guys paved the way, man. And not only from that, like we were able to teach those same manners, and we just pass it down to the younger generation, man. So that was always cool, man. Just side note, Nick, but. Hey, growing up in Iowa, Nick, what made you make the choice to come play for Coach Williams? Because how did Iowa feel about that?
Well, when I was a kid, I was an Iowa Hawkeye fan. My dad, he always had the games on, and I always liked watching the games. A guy named Chris Street was my favorite player, who tragically actually died during the season in a car wreck. And I think it was like 93 or something. But I grew up watching Iowa State, watching whoever was on ESPN. I think as I got further along in high school and started to grow and improve as a player, and really started to look at my opportunities to go to college, I was looking at it more on like which programs would be better for me in my career and my future. And, Kansas really stuck out. Obviously a program that had a ton of success, a great coach, a great program. I still considered Iowa and Iowa State. They had coaching changes around that time, which made it a little easier for me to decide. Tom Davis at Iowa was going to coach one more year and retire. So I would have had to wait till after my senior year to know who the coach was going to be. And Tim Floyd left for the Bulls the summer before my senior year. Kirk had committed to Iowa State, and I backed out of it when Floyd left to the Chicago Bulls, and I was excited about Kansas. I think in the end, I probably would have chose Kansas anyway. Um, you know, I, I, I have this strange connection where Rafe LaFrenze's wife is from my hometown. I'm from a little town, 5,000 people,
Yeah.
4 stoplights, and Rafe met this girl from my town in college. She went to Iowa State. They somehow met, and so Rafe would be in town when I was in like early in high school.
Wow.
And this woman, she's a woman now. At the time, she was uh, she's one of my sister's friends. Her brother is one of my best friends. So I got to know Rafe a little bit. So we really followed Kansas a lot. And there was my friend Mike was going to go. They were going to go watch a game early in the year. It was like one of the like first games in November, and they wanted to get an extra ticket so Mike could bring me, his buddy, to the game. They were working on his ticket, and Mike's dad was like, well, Nick is getting recruited by some of these schools. Can we call him a prospect? And they're like, sure, that works. They didn't know anything about me, but they're like, sure, that works. So they got me a ticket. I came to the game. We went to practice the next day, and Coach Williams came up to me and was like, he's like, son, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about you, but they tell me you can play a little bit. So we're going to send somebody to watch you practice when we come to play Iowa State later in the year. And they did. They sent Neil Doherty to watch practice, and they thought I could play. And then they sent, I think, Matt Doherty out in the state tournament, and he liked what I did. And Coach was there the next day in the championship and offered me a scholarship. In those days, you couldn't talk. I don't know what the rules are now, but you couldn't talk to the family. But my dad was my high school coach, so they could talk to the high school coach, who's my dad. And Coach came to, I believe he came to Iowa Falls. He might have done it on the phone, but he came the next day and offered me a scholarship. And then at that point, Kansas had gotten upset by Rhode Island that year, but had been, #1 team for a couple of years. So that was the best program that had offered me a scholarship at that point. It was, I'd already followed them. It's a great place.
Cool.
25 hours away. My folks could still drive. So it's a long story, but all that kind of worked together to where Kansas was the spot for me.
Yeah. I mean, I never knew that, man. That even it's so funny how just a little small connection, that little small connection with Rafe, how that can kind of materialize into what transpired, man. So, hey, talk about, playing under your dad, man. How did that go, man? How, did he get on to you a lot, or did he kind of let you slide with some things, or was it like, man, he's coaching me even when we're home, man? Like these other kids get to go home and go to their parents and relax. This dude's still coaching me when I'm at home. Like, how was that, man? Talk about that experience.
I was really fortunate. He did a great job with me. I really wanted to play. I used to get dropped off at practices after school. So like when I was a young kid, I would get a ride to the high school and they'd have practice and I would just be at the gym, probably like your kids are when you're coaching. And I started out not being so into it, but eventually I started picking up a ball, and I kind of was able to develop the love on my own by being around it. He didn't push me at that age as a real young kid. And then, I always had access to a gym. We would sit at home and we would watch games, and he would be able to drop little things that at the time I didn't realize, but probably a little more insight than other kids were getting. It was some of the more subtle things about the game. I would pick up a lot hearing him talk about his teams. Sometimes even like what not to do. Like if it was a bad team that year and he felt like the guys were kind of lazy or whatever it was, or we can't guard anybody or whatever, I kind of would learn like how you're not supposed to be, and then you pick up like, well, you got to be focused. You have to play hard. You have to play defense. Like you have to pass and you can't shoot every time. You have to pass to the guy when they're open. So you kind of pick up a lot of small things you don't even realize. He was always there to help. Always had a good feel not to press too hard. I was always pretty self-motivated, but I just think I had a really good perspective on basketball and what it means to be a teammate and be a player on a team. And I had kind of an inside look that a lot of kids don't get. And those are the type of things I think I excelled at, and which allow me to progress as a player, even when the talent caught up to me, and I had a good understanding of how to play, and that was a big benefit to me.
Oh, the talent. You said the talent caught up to you, huh? I don't know what talent caught up to you, man, but
it's always going to
another
catch up to
story.
you somewhere. You know, like I'd say, you know, college, but then, you know, played against Kevin Garnett or Tim Duncan, it caught up to me and I kept going. So